And welcome into another exciting edition of Locked On 76ers. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Marc Farzetta. And Philadelphia sports fans, we have the sweet sound of Locked On 76ers coming up after a really rough weekend in Philadelphia sports. We'll break it all down, including Quinton Grimes' impact to expect in preseason play and during the regular season itself. This is Locked On 76ers and the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And this is Locked On 76ers, and we thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started and download the FanDuel app today. Keith, it was a rough one. I had one buddy after the Phillies blew their 3-0 lead. The Eagles blow their 17-3 lead, and I know your New York Giants didn't fare well, nor will they fare well on Thursday night either there, buddy. But
give me 17 points. Give me 17 points.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. My one buddy texted me, he was like, at least the Flyers won. I was like, shut up, Joe. But and he is a big Flyers fan, and they did win in dramatic fashion, I might add. But this is also including watching two games in Abu Dhabi during the Abu Dhabi games with the Sixers and Knicks, where the Sixers remind us about the difference between them and the Knicks. Now, the difference is, as we did point out over the weekend on Saturday's show, reacting to the final game in Abu Dhabi, this ain't the 76ers yet. We still have yet to see Quentin Grimes out there. We still have yet to see Joel Embiid or Paul George. Meanwhile, you're seeing like the Knicks out there for the majority of play in Abu Dhabi, having 6 of their 8 normal guys out there getting some run. But the one difference that we can certainly talk about, and that has to do throughout the entire offseason, now through the rest of the preseason and in the regular season, is Quentin Grimes. Now, he did sign the $8.7 million restricted free agent offer sheet that the Sixers extended him just before the deadline, on deadline day, as a matter of fact. But we had one of our main takeaways from Saturday's game was, okay, VJ Edgecomb's not going to be running the point a lot. Tyrese Maxey obviously running the point. Jared McCain's not available. So how much of an impact can we really expect from Quentin Grimes? That was a takeaway we had, not seeing him play in those 2 games in Abu Dhabi. So with the plan this week, first off, Keith, what do you think it is, and what do you think we see on Friday against Orlando?
That's a great question. I think the plan is, and I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin. Now, the Sixers don't have practice today. They didn't practice yesterday, an official practice. But I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin Grimes is already in the practice facility. You know what I mean? Like, he arrived, he's getting like individual workouts in, working out in the gym, doing whatever he can. Because I think for him, the plan for him is to get him up to speed as soon as possible. Now, hopefully, ideally, you would love for him to play in Friday's preseason game, because when we look at it, they'll have Tuesday practice, Wednesday practice, Thursday practice, and then you play the game, on Friday. I think the plan is, when we look at it, it's tough to say, but I'm to pinpoint it, because I feel like in a guy like VJ Edgecomb, he's a guy that you would love to get as many reps as possible. And if you felt like this was a lost season, it will benefit you to play him a plethora of times, right? But with a guy like Quentin Grimes, and you look at VJ and you look at Tyrese Maxey, and the fact that Jared McCain isn't out there, Quentin is a guy that you really want to get out there and get as many reps as possible as well. Because, we look at it, is he a better ball handler than VJ? Yes, he is. Is he a better outside shooter than VJ? Yes, he is. Does he take some of the pressure? Does his shooting and ball handling ability take a lot of the pressure off of Tyrese Maxey? Yes, they do, right? So with that being said, if I was the plan for me, is like get him out there with Maxey. Because you remember, what Nick Nurse always said about him is that, we do look at him to be an additional ball handler, like perhaps the backup shooting guard. The backup point guard. So I can see him as right now as the starting 2, right? I can see that. But I can also see him when they start staggering things, that he gets a lot of the starting point guard role, and then VJ is playing off of him at the 2. Because I think that if it's me, the 76ers, if I'm really trying to win, I got to get this guy up to speed, and I got to see what he can do.
When it comes to Grimes, the starter, and you just mentioned him as the starting 2 guard here with the Sixers, is he a rebound and push type of guy if he does happen to get a rebound, or is he the guy that you think Maxey will be deferring the most to run the offense when Maxey wants to be a little bit more free and become the scorer as opposed to the ball handler?
It's weird. I think more so in the starting lineup, yeah, he can be an additional ball handler and push, but I look at him more so. And let's just say if everybody is healthy, like PG, everyone is healthy. So in the starting lineup of him, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Maxey, Kelly Oubre, right now I look at him as a guy who's going to space the floor, a guy who's going to get shots. Like, he's not going to be a primary scoring option, but what he does is he makes it to where the space is going to be there. He's going to, he's going to just knock down some threes. Now, again, when Maxey is out of the game, then I look at him more as like the primary ball handler, right? Trying to get guys in the sets, even though that's not his strength. But when we look at him, I mean, look at this roster, who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? So, and the current state. So, yeah, I look at him as a guy that's going to he's not going to score as many points as he did when he was scoring 21.9 towards the latter stage of the season, but he's a guy that's going to be able to knock down some shots, because we forget he's a heck of a 3-point shooter. I mean, he is a really good 3-point shooter. I think outside of Eric Gordon, he's the best on the team, in my opinion.
Now, the 8.7 we've talked about all offseason. If he signs for that 8.7, then you're talking about a guy that might not be in the starting lineup. If he's making the $20 million, if he's making the $15 to $19 million, then you're talking about a guy that maybe just might be in that starting lineup. But right now, I think that 8.7 is not so much about the money and the flexibility that provides you as a starter or off the bench guy. But now I think it's more reliant on the progress of VJ Edgecomb throughout the season. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm not betting on VJ Edgecomb as the season goes on to all of a sudden become like a 41% shooter from beyond the arc. Like, I'm going to go ahead and say that's not going to happen. You're going to see improvement, but I don't think you're going to see him become a better shooter than Quinton Grimes in year 1. You might see him become a better ball handler, a better facilitator, but shooting-wise, I think that's going to take a minute before really that progresses. Jared McCain's peak last year, I don't think is going to get duplicated when it comes to a rookie being able to shoot well from beyond the arc. So with that being said, do you think that this is Grimes' job to lose, but a job he'll hold on for the rest of the year or for this season? Or do you think VJ Edgecomb is really nipping at his heels?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's hard to say that right now since Quentin Grimes wasn't here. But I do think that, if I'm the 76ers under what we saw with VJ, and don't get me wrong, VJ showed some excitement at times, but he also showed some things that he needs to work on at this particular time. And I feel like if the 76ers are truly trying to be competitive this year, it's Quentin Grimes is going to get the first look, right? And then we'll see where it is. I also think that by doing that, you can bring VJ Edgecomb along slowly, and you don't have to put as much on his plate. You can rely on his athleticism, him doing the things that he's more comfortable with, right? You don't put him in bad situations. So yeah, right now I look at Grimes as this 2 guard. Now here's another thing: as much as we want to evaluate VJ Edgecomb and we want to evaluate other people, I think you really got to take a real hard look at Quentin Grimes, because you know what he can do on a tanking team. Now you got to figure out, is he a pretty good fit at the 2 guard spot alongside Maxey playing with the full thing? Can he still find a way of making a great impact on his team? And I think that's another reason why you want to play him and you want to start him right now. And again, it's not a knock on VJ, but he's still young. He still has to grow. Whereas Quentin Grimes has played 4 years in the NBA, and he's just right now, he's just a better all-around player. He's not more athletic. He doesn't have more potential. But if you're just saying for today, he's better.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think he is your starting shooter.
Yeah. And let me say one thing, though. But
yeah, I agree.
It's one of those things where, like, if Quentin Grimes, if VJ Edgecomb gets better and he get like things like that, I don't think that in any position besides the big three, so to speak, that the 76ers are tied to one particular person. Like, oh, no, we're not going to bring them off the bench. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a lot of things that guys are going to be having to battle for, throughout the season.
One more thing I want to, because this is another conversation. Fred Carter saying here, Grimes will not be a happy guy this year. I'm going to say this. I don't think anyone cares. I know he's not happy he didn't get a big bag, but if he wants that big bag, Keith, he's got to play well this year. So if he's not happy but still balls out and shows that he can be a good three-point shooter, a great role player on this team, run the second unit if that's what needs to happen or whatever, then he's going to cash in, especially when the new TV money comes in. So happy or not happy, you have one option right here. Your one option is to go out there and play great basketball. And the 76ers are going to benefit. If he's not happy, fine. Guess what? You play well, you're going to be real happy next year when you sign a bigger contract.
Exactly. And that's what it is. Like, if you're not happy, you got to channel that frustration, whatever it is, to be able to like say, okay, I'm going to prove people wrong. And maybe that's what Fred Carter was talking about. One of those things where this guy comes out here, he's like got that chip on his shoulder. I'm going to prove Daryl Morey wrong. Yeah, Nick Nurse, I'm going to do this. I'm going to let you guys know that I was Mr. Basketball in Texas a year before Tyrese Maxey was Mr. Basketball in Texas. I was a McDonald's All-American. I was this guy. Given the opportunity, that I can show you what I can do. The only thing is there's going to be some little bit of roadblocks ahead of you, and one of those roadblocks is Tyrese Maxey. Another one is Paul George. Another one is Joel Embiid. So if they're all healthy, you're not going to be able to get be in the position to score as well as you did last year. But at the same time, being motivated and not happy isn't a bad thing for him. And like you said, no one's going to care, but it's not a bad thing if he can channel that and play at an elite level. Heck, do what Paul George did a couple of years ago. Paul George he wanted to get a bag. He wanted to get paid. He had one of his best seasons in 2 seasons ago when he was with the Clippers. And people do that a lot. Let's see if Quentin Grimes can do that.
They do the old bait and switch.
Yeah.
I was really good for those games. Now pay me. And now I'm going to take a couple years off. No, hopefully that's not the way it plays out here in Philadelphia, obviously. All right, when we come back, I'm going to reference a coach that I think it's overlooked a lot in Sixers history, especially when it comes to a statement he made in his introductory press conference and what it has to do with what Daryl Morey had to say. And Keith, you have an article on it right now on Inquirer.com as well that people need to check out. We'll talk about the Sixers' relevancy when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Sixers YouTube channel. And right now, let me tell you about Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Trend Plus. The Tread Plus is fantastic. Powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how Peloton IQ, their system offers real-time strength coaching, and it actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. And how about this? The swivel screen is a game changer, and you could go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That's ONE Peloton.com. Onepeloton.com. Keith Pompey, you have a fantastic article on Inquirer.com right now where you wrote about Daryl Morey's comments at Media Day this year, where he said he basically wanted the Sixers to be relevant. Now, The coach I'm going to reference here is Doug Collins. Doug Collins gets signed as the Sixers head coach, and the Andre Iguodala era is in full swing and all that. And he came out in that opening press conference and said, I want the 76ers to be relevant again. And I thought that right there is a breath of fresh air. He's not trying to sell me something. He's not a snake oil salesman. He's not trying to sell me swampland. Like, this guy, he understands the status of the Sixers in the city of Philadelphia at the moment. And I said, thank you, Doug Collins. And he did. He made the Sixers relevant for a time. And then, unfortunately, they went into the process era, and that's a whole other ball of wax. But Daryl Morey, at least acknowledging the issue at Media Day, I thought was very important. And this quote is one you used on Inquirer.com. And the quote from Daryl Morey, Sixers president of basketball operations, was, we know we're at the point where we got to go out there and show it. Show they could be basically like the Eagles, like the Phillies, be relevant, essentially. No one's really interested in anything until we could turn the page, put a lot of wins up on the board, and show the city that we're the 76ers that everyone knows we can be. We can be, Keith. First off, do you agree with Morey's assessment of relevancy? And then who are the Sixers that they can be?
Here's the thing. I mean, I think that's to be determined in regards to who they can be. I think there's a lot of question marks. Like, first of all, can they be healthy? Like, if they can be healthy, then we'll see. But, the thing about Daryl Morey's comments, which really struck me, and, when he said them, was because of what changed. Like, before, you guys were like, from the start of last season, when you picked up Paul George. When you picked up Paul George, it was one of those things where everyone was saying, championship or bust, baby. We got this big three. We got these veterans. We have this and that. And then all of a sudden, after the, you made the trades and everything like that. And even after you made the trade, you were saying, guess what? If you squint a little bit, you can see a championship. Right. But then they went ahead and lost 28 of their last 32 games. Right. And then you had to tank. But then after the season, it was like, yeah, we messed up. We're going to get a younger, more dynamic team here to go along with our stars. Our stars are going to come back. And then what they're saying is, like, we want you to be patient. Right. We're going to get better each day. Like, we're going to take it a day at a time. We're going to do what Tyrese Maxey said, get 1% better. Well, but at the same time, you're talking about how young and dynamic these young guys are, right? You're also talking about how the team is, no matter who plays, is all about our style of play, and we're going to have success with that one. So when you say that, but then you come back and you're like, we got to focus on the day. We got to win the day. We got to do that. Well, you just lowered the expectations. But at the same time, you're trying to tell us that this team is better than last year's team. But you can't lower the expectations when you signed 3 max players to have one of the big threes for seasons to come. You did that last year, right? You brought back Quentin Grimes. You got him on a bargain, so to speak. You have VJ Edgecomb, the number 3 overall pick. So to me, it's like, when you're saying all this, you're basically setting it up for you guys to be irrelevant in the city of Philadelphia, because no one's talking about the 76ers right now like they talk about the Eagles, who are, even though they're 4-1, they're still a favorite to win the Super Bowl, to win 2 in a row, 3 in 9 years. No one's like, everybody's talking about the Phillies, right? The Phillies, they're about to start game 2 of their playoff series with the Dodgers tonight. So I don't know, man. It just seems weird to me where you got 3 max players, but you want people to be patient. When in the past, you were saying, if you squint, even though they were struggling, if you squint, you can see a championship. It's just like, what's really going on to me? I'm a little.
That's always going to make me laugh. Squint.
Yeah.
How hard am I squinting? I'm just going to squint so hard I close my eyes so I don't have to watch this anymore. No.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't put this. He wants to be in the same boat as the Eagles. Great. Every team in all of sports should be in the same boat. Should want to be in the same boat as a reigning champion, like the Eagles are, right? I put the Sixers and the Phillies in the same category because, like, there's been a lot that's been promised. There's been a lot of money spent. There's been a lot of false hope, and I haven't seen the delivery yet. The only thing I will say is I don't think I'll ever hear from John Middleton, for instance, or Dave Dombrowski, be patient. Like, I don't think I'll ever hear that. And every time I hear the reference to that, not just you, from anybody, or if I'm, just rewatching clips from the media day or whatever, or not from the media day, but from the draft, where he said, we're going to need a little patience. No, absolutely not. And I think I speak for a lot of 76ers fans when I say that, because I'm sorry, whoa. You want me to be more patient after I just essentially lit 3.5 years on fire so that this Sixers team could rebuild itself, and they rebuilt themselves to be this, and then remade themselves over and over again ever since the declarative end of the process, when they stopped trying to lose and actually started to try to win? Like, no, the patience is done. Now, hey, VJ Edgecomb, I'm not going to make you pay for sins of the process. I'm going to be patient with you. I'm going to let you develop. I'm not going to expect you to be an all-star or MVP candidate or automatic rookie of the year right out of the gate. I'll hope for that part, the rookie of the year part, but that's going to be a tough road. So I look at this, I'm like, patience, forget about it. That ain't happening. There are no patience left when it comes to the 76ers fans. Individually, younger guys developing, absolutely. But as far as Daryl Morey finding the right pieces to build, as far as Joel Embiid being healthy enough, and when he's healthy enough, knowing when to push through an injury, that's going to be something that I think a lot of people are not going to have any patience for as this season goes on. So, look, you talk about relevancy. Yeah, they're relevant. People still talk about them, but it's not in a positive light. It's not in a hopeful light. It's a biggest if in sports, as far as I'm concerned. And I always say this, the biggest if in sports is Joel Embiid. If he's healthy, the Sixers can compete for a championship. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I ever really bet on when it comes to his health.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing, though, like when we talk about it. So, you look at Brett Brown. Brett Brown went from took him from multi-year tanking to basically, not being able to get out of the second round. And when you look at the teams that he had, like, there was a constant turnover besides Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons at that particular time, right? Like, it was just bringing in a different group of players, the different core. But guess what? They determined that, not being able to get out of the second round wasn't good enough. And then you have Doc Rivers, who basically was a great regular season coach, right? The 76ers, for his 3 years over here, they had the second most wins in the NBA during that time. They went to a game 7. And then I believe they went to a game 5. Or no, they went to 2. Actually, no, they went to 2 game 7s with Doc Rivers, right? In the second round, right? He gets fired, right? He gets fired. So we're saying to ourselves that this isn't good enough. And then we look at Nick Nurse, and it's probably not a fault of his. He had some things that he had to deal with. But the first year they make it to the first round of the playoffs, but they had to go through the play-in tournament. Last year, they didn't even they decided to tank after they realized, hey, this ain't working out. We want to keep this pick. We got to keep this draft pick. So that's the thing that gets me. It's kind of sort of like, okay, before it wasn't good enough, but now you're telling people, be patient. But then it's also mixed signals. And sometimes I think that they got PR'd up. Like the PR director said, hey, we don't want to put no crazy stuff out there to where people are going to come back and say, well, this is what you said, Daryl. This is what you said, Nick. But this is the thing that gets me right now when we talk about being patient. And this is what Nick Nurse said. Daryl mentions the youth that we have. I think we talked about being a little bit more athletic, a little faster, a little younger, a little quicker up and down the floor, maintaining a style of play, no matter who's in and who's out. The next guy got to plug in there and be able to fit in with the system, right? He says we need to run better. I know it sounds basic, but we need to be able to run back better so we can get out. I mean, we can get our defense set. We need to be able to use the same speed and quickness to push forward better. The defense we play is kind of pressure-based and certainly turnover-based, right? So it's kind of like we're quicker, we're this, we're that, but we got to work on certain things, the whole nine, but it doesn't matter who's out there playing. And when I looked at that second preseason game, exhibition game in Abu Dhabi, I basically said, we haven't learned anything about the Sixers because their stars are not playing, right? You came back and said, hey, we learned that these are the guys that they're going to depend on, and they didn't look good. Yeah. And you were correct, because in a way, they were telling us on media day, it doesn't matter if Joel doesn't play. It doesn't matter if PG doesn't play. We're going to have a certain style of play to where we're going to play and it's going to execute, and we're going to basically look good. But they didn't look good. They looked unorganized at times, right? The guys didn't show a lot of effort. He's saying we got to get back better and get our defense set. Well, their transition defense struggled at times, right? They weren't making shots. They weren't doing everything. They weren't creating a lot of turnovers. So, you know what I mean? To me, it's kind of like, what's the message? Like, what team do you have? Again, things will change and we'll get a better idea of what they look like with Embiid in them. But at the same time, they're the ones that are telling us that it doesn't matter who's out there. But then at the same time, they're telling us we need some work and you need to be patient. So which one is it?
Right. Also, one game 7. Doc Rivers coached in one game 7. It was game 6 against Miami. After they lost to the Hawks in 7, they lost to the Heat in 6 the following year.
But what about didn't they lost to? Okay, that's right. That was. But what about Atlanta? They lost to Atlanta. But what about 7? And then they lost to Boston in 7 too, right?
With Doc Rivers?
Yeah, with Doc Rivers. That's when he got fired.
Oh. I'm trying to think. There it is. Yeah. Hold on. Let me. It's coming up. Just talk amongst yourselves for a second. Yes, game 7. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's one I'm leaving. Yeah, he lost in 2 game 7s
and a game 6. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of his thing, right?
Yeah.
Ever since he was in Boston, of course. Yeah, my mistake. Excuse me.
No.
I'll just edit that out right after. Yeah. All right. When we come back, let's talk about the plan for Friday going up against the Orlando Magic and whether or not we're going to see any of these other stars going into that game. All that more when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. And now let me tell you about FanDuel. How fantastic is FanDuel? NFL season is upon us. And how about this great offer for new customers? Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win, $300 in bonus bets. That's right. Pick a bet, place a $5 bet. That bet wins. $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel. So many ways to win, so many ways to play. Talk about parlays. Love building those. Also, talk about player props. They're great on FanDuel. Love watching football and putting it, put it this way, a little bit more exciting when you got some skin in the game with FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com. Download the FanDuel app today and get started at FanDuel.com. Download the app, create an account, and use make sure you place that first $5 bet, and if it hits, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So go to FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today at FanDuel.com. So what is the plan for Friday, Keith? And this is not a suggestion, but I do not expect Joel Embiid to play at all in the preseason. I don't believe he should play in the preseason. This is all at his pace. What do you think that means for Friday?
You know, it's weird. It's funny because different coaches do different things. Like there are certain coaches who, what they'll do is, so like you saw Tyrese Maxey and play the first half, right? So sometimes you'll have a coach, but they have so many days in between. You'll see a coach say, okay, what we're going to do is we'll have guys play for 3 quarters, and then we'll have the bench basically play in the 4th, right? You know, just get them out there, get them more acclimated. Or he could just continue to do the same thing. But if you would do that the 3 quarters thing, then typically you would take off. They wouldn't play the 4th game. Then you just have guys who are in Exhibit 10 contracts, contract deals, or two-way players or reserves, just going out there playing the final game. So, but to me, I feel like they need to get these guys in some reps. The fact that 5 of their top 8 players didn't play in Abu Dhabi, I think they got to get them out there and they got to play them at least one game. I don't know how spirited the practices are. I'm assuming they are. But at the same time, you do want to give them a sort of dress rehearsal. Now, the only thing that's not saying I'm believing they're going to do that definitively is because, let's face it, they're going to play this Friday, and then they're going to play next Friday, and then they get ready for the regular season. So, to me, I feel like it will be better suited for them to get these guys out there. Now, again, they got health issues. So you want to make sure that they're healthy too. But if they can go, I want to get them out there. Like Embiid, Embiid may not play the whole thing, and he may not play at all. But at the same time, I do think that if you got this new offense, you do would like to get them some reps. I mean, this is different.
I'm with you. I can't see a world where, obviously Paul George, we know he's just not ready. Yeah. And then Joel Embiid, who's been getting some run now, even if I would find it, I'd be shocked. Honestly.
I'd be shocked too, but
okay. All right. That's the way to put it. Yeah. Then we'd both be shocked if we saw Joel Embiid running out there on the court in either one of these preseason games. Keith, that's the show. We thank everyone in the chat. We appreciate you guys following along and all that. DK, Mr. Sandman, talking about closing his eyes completely and imagining Joel Embiid hosting the championship trophy. Let's hope for that one. Also, Ja. I don't know. Maybe it's ha ha ha. Maybe it's a soft J. I don't know. The bigger his impact, the more it will hurt losing him for nothing. Talking about Quinton Grimes.
Yeah.
If he goes away. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. We will be back with you guys tomorrow for another edition of Locked On 76ers. He's Keith Pompey. I'm Marc Farzetta, and let's hope for brighter days in the Philadelphia sports scene. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers. And also, we thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. For your second listen, how about go finding Locked On Fantasy Basketball? Josh Lloyd hosts the number one fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and giving you all you need to know to be the better NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Catch you guys tomorrow. See you then.